Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. This program is broadcast to you from Rajamachan, University of Technology, Pranacon, and I will be bringing this program to you in two parts. For the first part, I will introduce an artist and a song to you. We'll discuss a little bit about the artist, and then we'll talk a little bit about the song. We'll discuss kind of its main themes, what it is all about. That's what the theme means, like what it's about. Then we will listen to the song. And in the second part of our program, we will analyze the lyrics. We will look especially at any difficult vocabulary, slang, idioms, anything that might be a little bit hard to understand. All right, let's get to the show. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for the Musical Musings program. I'm an American English teacher here at Rajamachan, University of Technology, Pranacon, and I have been here for about 8 years. A little more than that, actually. So, for today's episode, we are going to be doing the song Little Red Corvette by Prince. Now, before we talk about the song, let's talk a little bit about Prince. Okay, so this is an interesting artist. Interesting because of how iconic and big and famous he was. I say he was because, unfortunately, he has passed away. And he was not that old. He was 58 years old. If my math is correct, I believe he was 58 years old. He was born in 1958, died in 2016. So he died almost 10 years ago. So, some artists, in rock and roll, they do crazy things. They die really young. He wasn't that young, 58. He was getting a little bit old, so older than I am. And I feel old sometimes. So he's older than me. But still not very old, 58. 58's pretty young. But he was extremely popular. Now, the reason I say it's interesting is because the style of music we tend to focus on here, I usually pick music that I like because I'm more familiar with it. I almost don't like doing that. I should be giving you a flavor of everything. But sometimes it's hard to know what's a good song to share with you if it's something I'm not familiar with. And his style of music is kind of pop music, pop style music. And that is not really my favorite type of music. For example, have we done Whitney Houston on here? I want to say we have not. Her most famous song is I Will Always Love You, but that was originally done by Dolly Parton. Actually, I'm not even sure it was originally done by Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton was the first one to make it famous. It might have been done by someone even before her. But we did do Dolly Parton, and we did her version of it. But I don't think we've done Whitney Houston. I'm pretty sure we've done Michael Jackson just because it's Michael Jackson, one of the most famous singers ever. So we've done him. But, yeah, we haven't really done a lot of just pop singers. I guess Lady Gaga kind of qualifies. We've done her. We did Cher, who I guess qualifies. So we've done a few. Also, we've talked about this many times on this program. I don't really like to stick to genres anyway. I mean, most pop music is really a form of rock music. It's very similar to like what we would call soft rock music. And it's almost the same thing. So, we've done plenty of soft rock music on here before. We've done plenty of rock music on here before. And what I mean by it being the same thing is it's the same idea, kind of the same style. You're using the same instruments. So maybe as you get more and more into rock and more heavier and heavier and heavier, you'll get more electric guitar, more drums, that sort of thing. But you still could have keyboard and things like that, which you're generally going to have in pop music. There's going to be some background instrumentation. And there's probably going to be some form of percussion, so there's going to be some drums as well, something like that. So, again, they're all kind of really similar. It's one of the reasons I don't like focusing on genres. There's so much crossover. At any rate, if you were to really confine things to a specific genre, Prince is probably mostly pop. We don't do a lot of pop on this program just because it's not my specialty. It's not my forte. It's not what I like the most. But I decided we were going to do him this week because, we've covered most of the really, really, really famous artists. Like I mentioned, Lady Gaga, Michael Jackson. We've done the Beatles. We've done the Rolling Stones. I think we've done them. Pretty sure. I know we've done the Who. I'm almost certain we've also done the Eagles. Yeah, I know we did. Yes, I believe we did Hotel California by the Eagles. So we've done like all the most famous bands out there. We've never done Prince, and he was extremely famous. So a little bit more about Prince. Okay, so I mentioned to you he was born in 1958, died in 2016. So kind of sad because he died fairly young. Again, not too young. I mean, he was 58, but still kind of young. Most people live to be 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s or 90s or even over 100, some people. But most people, 60s, 70s. So died at the age of 58, so pretty young. He is an American artist. He is from Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's in the northern part of America. Minnesota is a very interesting state, actually. It's kind of a rural, country-ish sort of state. It does have a few big cities, like Minneapolis, where Prince is from, is a big city. But it's a pretty rural state. Usually, you think of rural, countryside, so, you're not going to get a lot of famous people coming out of that state. Minnesota actually has quite a few interesting people that have come out of their state. It's an interesting state. And Prince is one of these interesting people. His persona, his character is also very interesting because it's really difficult to figure him out. He's viewed very much as being androgynous. Now, maybe you don't know that word, but androgynous means someone whose gender is not clear. So his gender is clear. He's a man. Okay, he's a man. That's why I keep saying he. He's a man. But he's very kind of flamboyant, effeminate, and so a lot of people think of him as being gay, but I believe he was married at one point. He was also, for a short time in his life, kind of very outspoken about his religiosity, about his religion. And he never came out and said bad things about gay people. But he seemed to really push the idea that he was, straight. He's a straight guy. Because within his religion, because his religion was Christianity, and in Christianity. Not all branches of it. There are different people that believe different things, but in most branches of Christianity, they kind of look down on gay people. And so he's Christian, so he doesn't want to be viewed as gay. Okay. So really weird persona. Hard to really figure him out. But, you're talking about a music star. So in that kind of light, that almost made him even more famous because, he's mysterious. So he was very mysterious, kind of interesting. He was also a little bit weird because he seemed very good-hearted and good-natured, but then at the same time, he didn't want to do any of that stuff publicly. And so he almost came off as the opposite because you would never see it. And what I mean, for example, is, again, seemed like a very nice person. Very nice. Very kind, generous, warm, caring. And yet, he was asked to participate in something called USA for Africa. We did actually that song, We Are the World, on here. We've done that song on this program. He wouldn't do it. He said no. And his reasons seemed to be almost very selfish and very personal. So it just seemed weird. Really nice guy and yet selfish at the same time. Just a really interesting character. Very interesting character. Anyway, he was very famous. And so we've never done his music on this program before. Another reason he might have been a little bit kind of odd is that maybe he never had a chance to grow into himself, really. His first record deal, so, you get this pressure from all these recording studios and whatever, came when he was only 18. So he never really had a chance to grow up. It's kind of the same deal with Michael Jackson. People view Michael Jackson also as being very weird. Like his relationship with children seems... Some people have some bad things to say about him. Some people defend him to the end of their life, really. Just saying, no. All that bad stuff people say about him is not true. Just very, very weird. Very odd. Very unique. And so the same thing might be... The problem that a lot of people see with Michael Jackson is that he never had a chance to grow up. And so the same thing might be true here. I mean, Prince signed his first record deal when he was 18. His first album came out just a couple of years later in 1978. So, anyway, very interesting character, very interesting person. I choose to believe the good side of things that you hear about him. Like I said, there's some good, there's some bad. He seemed a little bit selfish and wouldn't do USA for Africa, things like that. Most of the stories you hear about him, though, are positive stories. So I choose to believe that about him. And he's gone now, so he's not here to defend himself. So let's just believe the good. Okay? All right. Now, the song we're going to do is Little Red Corvette. This came out in 1999. So this was... I guess I'd say middle of his career, but as far as the time period when he was most famous, I can't really say this came out early. 1999 is pretty late, but I'm trying to think of when he became most famous. I don't have that written down in my notes, but I think it was probably in the 90s, but it would have been early 90s because I remember him being famous when I was in high school and university, and I went to university in the early 90s. So, should have been early 90s. So this is several years beyond that. So maybe the middle of his career. Maybe not really early in his career. I think about this song, and honestly, I think about it as one of his earlier ones, but in fact, 1999 sounds too late, but that's when I looked it up. That's the date it had on it. Maybe the date is wrong online for when it came out. But that's the date I have, is 1999 for it. All right, so now the song is about a one-night stand. Now, what does that mean? You might know what it means. I have seen it used here in Thailand. But it's like when you meet up with someone to have sex just for one time. That's a one-night stand. You meet someone for one night and you go have a good time. So that's what a one-night stand is. So that's what this song is about. A lot of his songs kind of had this sort of idea to it. So he was a little bit controversial in that respect as well. All right, and this is one of his more popular songs. It got to number 6 on the Billboard. I mentioned Billboard a lot. That's like the chart where they rank the songs. So this got up to number 6. He did have some songs that were a little higher than this. I want to say that his song When Doves Cry got to number 1, but I'm not sure about that. I didn't write that down in my notes as far as how high that song got. It's in my... When we get to the end, for those of you familiar with this program, you know I like to talk about other songs by the artist. That is one of the songs we'll mention. So I do have the song in my notes, but I don't have where it ranked in my notes, so I'm not sure. But I think that might have gotten to number 1. So Little Red Corvette is not his most famous song, but it's one of his most famous songs. Number 6 is obviously quite high, so it's one of his most famous songs. All right, so let's go ahead and listen to the song. As always, for those of you joining us on YouTube, we cannot embed the video, so there will be a link in the upper right-hand corner. Check that out. Click on that to go watch the video. And for anyone else, if you're joining us on streaming or on the radio, we can embed the music, so you should be able to listen just fine. All right, let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So that was Little Red Corvette by Prince. And again, it's about a one-night stand. So obviously, there's probably not going to be too much here in the lyrics that's really deep or meaningful, not with that topic. But there will be some kind of ideas or some slang words or things like that that we do need to explain. So let's get to the lyrics here. All right, so we start out. I guess I should have known by the way you parked your car sideways that it wouldn't last. All right away. What the heck does that even mean? Should have known by the way you parked your car sideways? In other words, you parked quickly. You're just there for a good time. You're not there for a long time. You're not staying. You're not staying. You're not going to stay the whole night. You're not going to... This isn't your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You're just looking to have fun for one quick thing. Half hour, 2 hours, however long it takes you. You're just there for a short time. You parked your car sideways. You just pulled in and stopped. All right. See, you're the kind of person that believes in making out once, love 'em and leaving fast. Okay, making out, that is English slang for, it really just means kissing. It doesn't mean more. But in this case, but it can sometimes, and in this case, I think he does mean more. He means more than just kissing. Again, it's a one-night stand. So that's what he's talking about. And he says making out once. So in other words, one-night stand, making out once, one time. Love 'em and leave 'em fast. That's why he parked sideways. Just going to go in there, have fun with this person, and they're gone. Okay, I guess I must be dumb because you had a pocket full of horses, Trojan, and some of them used. Okay, all right, okay. All right, this line, I told you he's a little bit controversial, so let me try to explain this as nice as I can. Okay, he's referencing horses. He does not mean horses at all. It's a reference to the word Trojan, which he says next. Because in, like, Greek mythology, there's the Trojan horse. So Trojans refers to horses. And Trojans, you may know, are condoms. So he's got a pocket full of condoms, and it says some of them used. Oy. Oy. So what he's saying is, I guess I must be dumb. In other words, he's thinking there's going to be more to this than just a one-night stand. And this is another one of these songs where it's like, once again, you question, well, is Prince gay or straight? Because he's singing this song like he's talking to the other person. So the other person has a pocket full of condoms. I guess a girl might, but because they want to protect themselves, but usually it's the guy walking around with them, so the song makes it sound like he's meeting a guy. I don't know. I don't know. No, I'm not sure anyone knows to this day, even though he's been dead for 10 years. All right, we continue. But it was Saturday night. I guess that makes it all right. And you say, what have I got to lose? Okay, so it's Saturday night. I guess that makes it all right. Of course, that wouldn't necessarily make anything all right. But what he's saying is, people maybe go out and drink and party and do silly things on the weekend. So it's Saturday night, so it's okay to do this. And you say, what have I got to lose? Okay, the saying, what do I have to lose? What have I got to lose? That basically means kind of exactly what it sounds like. You're asking a question as if you don't have anything to lose. And what that means is you've got nothing to lose. It means nothing bad can happen from doing this thing. So in other words, go for it. Do it. So kind of goes along with Saturday night makes it all right. So both of those lines kind of mean, oh, well, the previous line was saying that he must be dumb because he didn't see what this was about. He didn't realize this was going to be a one-night stand. But now he's saying, all right, fine, okay. Okay, so now we get to the chorus. And honey, I say, little red Corvette, baby, you're much too fast. Little red Corvette, you need a love that's going to last. All right. So, you could interpret this in different ways. A Corvette is a car, in case you're not familiar with that. It's a sports car, and, a red sports car, that's kind of fancy. But it seems like more like this is some sort of euphemism. A euphemism means we're using something to mean something else. Because it says, baby, you're much too fast. And we're talking about a sports car. But when we say that a person is fast, it means that they are quick to move on to wanting sex. Like they just meet you, now they want to do something. And of course, the song's about a one-night stand, so that's what we're talking about here. Baby, you're much too fast. And that's why he then says, you need a love that's going to last. So he's saying that this maybe isn't a good thing. You need something that's going to last. All right? So that's kind of the chorus, is basically saying, even though he's going along with it, as you saw from the end of the first verse, he's basically saying it's not really a good thing. He's saying, you're too fast. You need something more stable, more permanent. You need a love that's going to last. Okay, we continue to verse 2. I guess I should have closed my eyes when you drove me to the place where your horses run free. All right. I'm not sure even what to say about that line, except that remember what horses mean. Okay? We're talking the same thing here, all right? So your horses run free? Yeah. Yeah. So if you remember back what we talked about with the horses and the Trojan, okay. The horses running free. Okay. Because I felt a little ill when I saw all the pictures of the jockeys that were there before me. All right, so a jockey, a jockey is a person that rides a horse. Oy. So the song is actually quite funny, but it's really quite naughty, and he's using this whole horse thing in a very funny way. Okay, so someone that rides a horse. Okay, so he's saying that there are all these pictures there. So this man, woman, I don't know, calling them baby and honey. It seems more like a girl, but at the same time, a pocket full of Trojans, I'm not really sure. So this person he's talking to, whether it's a man or a woman, apparently has all these pictures of the people they've been with. Lee. So he's not very comfortable with that. That's what he's saying there. He felt a little ill when he saw all the pictures of the jockeys that were there before me. All right. Believe it or not, I started to worry. I wondered if I had enough class. Okay. Class, what we mean here, it doesn't mean like school. When you say having class, it means having style, being sophisticated, that sort of thing. So basically, he's just saying here, I wondered if I had enough class. He's wonder if he compares to all the rest of these men that this person he's with has been with. So he's worried because he sees all these pictures. He's like, oh my God, they've been with a lot of people. So am I good enough for this person? Okay, we continue on. But it was Saturday night. I guess it makes it all right. And you say, baby, have you got enough gas? Again, we're being euphemistic here. Have you got enough gas? And we're talking about the Corvette. And remember what we said in the last chorus about what the Corvette is. So really we're saying, do you have enough energy to do this? So again, we're talking about a one-night stand. All right, we get the chorus again, and we continue on. Song's a little bit long, so we're continuing on here. A body like yours ought to be in jail because it's on the verge of being obscene. Move over, baby, give me the keys. I'm going to try to tame your little red love machine. Oi. Oi, okay. So he's saying he ought to be in jail because it's on the verge of being obscene. That's a joke. That's a joke. He's not saying they literally ought to be in jail. Basically, obscene means like dirty, and it usually means that in a sexual way. So in this sense, since he's with her, or him, or whatever, since he's with him, or her, really just saying that she looks good. I'll say she, because more of this sounds like it's a woman than a man, but some of it sounds like it's a man, so I don't know. So we'll say it's a woman, so she looks good. She's sexy. She's good. She's hot. Okay? So move over, baby. Give me the keys. I'm going to tame your little red love machine. All right. So again, remember the little red Corvette. We're not really talking about a car. We're talking about her. Again, or him. We don't know. We're going to say her for now. We're talking about her. So this is, again, kind of euphemism, slang, give me the keys. He's going to... I don't even want to say he's going to drive her. That sounds terrible. But you get the picture. You get the picture. Okay, we get the chorus again. And then we are almost done here because he just kind of repeats the chorus, although there are some lines they change. He goes, little red Corvette, but then he changes some of the second lines. Honey, you got to slow down. So again, he's saying it's not good. Even though he's all for it because it's Saturday night and that makes it all right, he's still telling her it's not good. You need a love that's going to last. Honey, you got to slow down. Okay? And then he says, because the next time he says little red Corvette, because if you don't, you're going to run your little red Corvette right into the ground, which again, if you think about what we're talking about here, that's kind of a funny line, that you're going to run it right into the ground. In other words, she's going to wear herself out because she's getting herself around a little too much. All right? Right down to the ground, honey. You got to slow down. You got to slow down. Okay, you're moving much too fast. You need a love that's going to last. Okay. The next line actually has a bad word in it, so I'm not sure I want to even say it. It says, girl, you got a... So now it does say girl, so I guess we're talking about a woman. Still don't know. He could just throw that line in there just to throw us off. Ooh, who knows? Girl, you got a backside. He uses a different word. He uses a bad word here, like I've never seen. And the ride, I say the ride is so smooth, you must be a limousine. Again, bad, but really funny if you think about it. The songwriting here actually is really clever. This is a really funny song. The way he's using all the car stuff. So, but to say you're riding it, we do actually use that as slang in English for this. So using that in the song is just... the reason it's so funny is because for English-speaking people, this is way too obvious. There's no secret to what he's talking about. Because that's the slang word we sometimes use, is riding something. And that means something naughty, something dirty in slang. Okay. that last line, I say the ride is so smooth, you must be a limousine. Oy vey. Okay, so that line really is the last line. It just kind of repeats the chorus after that. It does repeat the different version of the chorus where it talks about you're going to run your body right into the ground. It repeats that. So that's the song. That is a hard song to talk about because I'm trying to keep things nice here on our program. Now, there was nothing bad there. There was only one bad word, but what it means is bad. So there's a lot of what we call innuendo. Innuendo is when you say something, it's almost like slang. You say something that means something else, but you are kind of suggesting it. And that's what he's doing here by saying, oh, riding this and the horses. It's just innuendo. And it really is funny. But it's hard to do this song. But I still wanted to do this song because we haven't done Prince yet. And most of his songs are like this, if I'm going to be honest with you. Most of his songs are like this. So what are you going to do? You got to pick one of them if we're going to do Prince. So we did this song. All right. So that was Little Red Corvette by Prince. Now, if you want to listen to some of his other songs, I would recommend When Doves Cry. I mentioned that one earlier. Raspberry Beret, not one of my favorite songs of his, but it is popular, and I try not to take my opinion too much into it. I want you to listen to the popular songs. Sometimes popular songs aren't the best songs, but they're popular for a reason. A lot of people like them. So, maybe you will. Raspberry Beret is another one of his popular songs. I Want to Be Your Lover, another one. And Purple Rain. He's got a ton more songs which were quite popular. These are just the most popular ones that I could think of. So go ahead and check those out. Again, it's When Doves Cry, Raspberry Beret, I Want to Be Your Lover, and Purple Rain. Along with the song we just did, which is Little Red Corvette. Check those songs out by Prince if you like his music. Again, very popular, very popular. People were devastated when they heard that he had died. Very popular musician. Iconic. He would be like second to Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, of course, was like the number one all time. I think Prince is kind of like just behind him in terms of pop music stars from like the 80s and 90s. And I think Prince was probably a little more 90s. But he did start in 1978, as I mentioned earlier in the program. So, I mean, he was also 80s as well. Plenty of music in the 80s. So he was 80s and 90s. So I think he was probably like second to Michael Jackson in terms of popularity among pop artists. So very popular. Go check him out. All right. So that'll do it. That's Little Red Corvette from Prince. That'll do it for today's show. Thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. And I'd encourage any young people out there to check out our university, Rajamacon University of Technology, Pranicon. We have a nice little university here. And please stay with us. And tune back in next week for another great song. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical musings, musical